Alright, well this video is for the assignment on unit rate and unit cost. And one of the key things with this assignment is to understand the word per in these problems means divided by. Okay? I frequently use the fraction symbol to mean divided by instead of 10 divided by 5, I would write 10 divided by 5 like that. It's just simpler and it clears up some ambiguities that happen if you use that divided by symbol. So, in any event, I'll talk about this more as we're going through problems. Okay? As the problems start out, like in problem 2, we've got $2,500 per 20 days. And so we want to know how much would that be for one day. Okay? And the key here is this per means divided by. So you want to do 2,500 divided by 20. Okay? And let's see. I believe it comes out to $125 a day, but I'll double check that. 2,500 divided by 20, 125. So this is $125 per day. All right. Let's see here. So the first couple problems are just like that. Let's see. Number 4, 44 bushels per 8 trees. And so then we want to do 44 divided by 8. 5.5. 5.5 bushels per tree. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a relationship here. This is very closely related to averaging something, right? If you have 8 trees and we get the 44 bushels out of all 8 and then we divide by 8, that would be the average. Okay, of 5.5 bushels per tree. Every tree may not give you that much, but that's about how much you're getting. This one is, and this one, I don't know. I was going to say this one is more accurate. People tend to make the same amount every day, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they worked longer on some days and shorter on others. But their average was about $125 a day. So that's kind of one of the things that this topic gets at. All right, let's look at a couple more problems here. I think we have one more. These kind of straightforward ones. Problem 6. We've got $74.25 for 9 hours work. And so we got to take that 74.25 and divide it by 9. So that's $8.25 an hour. You can write it per hour. I also sometimes, again, use that fraction bar, $8.25 per hour. All right. Now, problems 8, 10, and 12 all say determine which is a better buy, which has the lowest unit cost. Okay? And again, the idea here, so in problem 8, we've got $3.59 for 8 ounces, and then $5.54 for 12 ounces. All right, so we need to divide $3.59 divided by 8, and that'll give us about, well, I'll write it all down, per ounce, about 45 cents an ounce. And then $5.54 divided by 12, this is about 46 cents per ounce. And so this is the cheaper one. Okay? Let's see here. Now Now you can set these up as proportions. Like if you're more comfortable with that, then by all means you can do that. You can say, you know, $3.59 for 8 ounces would be how many for X ounces. And you can see if you how much for 1 ounce. And you can see if you cross multiply, you're just going to end up doing 359 times 1 divided by 8. So you might as well just do 359 divided by 8 there. Okay. And I think I talked about that a little bit when we were doing proportions, how you can always fall back on setting up a formal proportion if you get stuck in problems like this. All right. Let's see here. Problem 10. We've got 3 choices. We've got $1.90 for 2 cans, $2.89 for 3 cans, and $4.58 for 5 cans. Okay, so $1.90 divided by 2 is 95 cents per can. $2.89 divided by 3 is about 96 cents per can. And then $4.58 divided by 5 is about 91 cents, 91.5 cents per can, or so, approximately. So this is the cheapest one right here. Okay. Now let's take a look at these word problems. And this is where an understanding of that use of the word per, meaning divided by, comes in really handy. So let's take a look at it. Okay, problem 14. Alice's recipe requires 3 pounds of ground beef to feed 10 people. Give the rate in pounds per person. So that's the key phrase for what they're looking for. Means you want to take the pounds and then divide it by the number of people. Right? Pounds per person. So we end up with 0.3 or 3/10 of a pound per person, somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 pound. So that's not too bad. Let's see here. Problem 16. One pays $46.62 for 18 gallons of gas. What is the cost per gallon? So we want cost per gallon. All right. If we do 46.62 divided by 18, right? Because this tells us we want to take the cost and divide it by the gallons, and that tells us that this will be $2.59 per gallon. Now, what if we did 18 divided by 46.62? Right, so now this is gallons per, instead of cost, really what it is it's gallons per dollar. How many gallons can you buy for $1? So if we did 18 divided by 46.62, that would be about 0.386. So you don't get much for $1, much gasoline for $1 these days. Okay? And sometimes you might run into problems here and there. I haven't put any on there, and you won't see them on the tests or quizzes, but in looking through textbooks and other resources, they sometimes ask these questions in both ways. Let me give you an example with traveling. Let's say you go 300 miles in 5 hours. Pretty straightforward. So if you want miles per hour, then you go 300 divided by 5, and that's 60 miles per hour. Now if you want hours per mile, now think about this for a minute. Hours per mile, how long does it take to drive a mile? It doesn't take that long. In fact, 60 miles an hour is a mile a minute. Okay? And so this is going to come out hours per mile if we do 5 divided by 300. This is going to be 1/60th, which is I think going to be like 0.016 or so. So that's why it's so small, is because if you're using hours as your unit, then talking about how many hours it takes to drive a mile is not really all that helpful. Okay? And we'll talk more about that in the next topic. We're going to talk about unit conversion. Okay? And the reason why we do unit conversion is because sometimes the units that we're working with are not good units for the problem, and we want to change them into other units. Okay? All right. That's just kind of a sidebar to doing these problems. Let's look at a couple more. Okay, problem 18. We have a vehicle that travels 396 miles on 16.5 gallons of gas. And we want to know how many miles per gallon is that going to be. So the miles is 396. Remember, the per means divided by 16.5. And so then we'll get the calculator out here. 396 divided by 16.5. And that equals 24 miles per gallon. You'll sometimes see this abbreviated MPG. Okay, let's see here. Problem 20, we have another vehicle that is traveling 310 miles on 15.5 gallons of gas. And again, we're being asked to calculate miles per gallon. So we do 310, per means divided by, and 15.5. So 310 divided by 15.5, and so that's 20 miles per gallon, and like I said, sometimes you'll see it MPG. Now what if we turn this around? Gallons per mile. Again, this is not really going to be all that helpful to us, but it will tell us how many gallons it takes to travel 1 mile. 0.05 gallons. Not very much gasoline is required to travel a mile. That's why we don't often talk about that, gallons per mile. All right, let's see here. What else? Problem 22. We've got some NBA statistics. Shaquille O'Neal scored 826 points in 32 games, and we want to calculate points per game. So that means we want to take that 826 and divide it by 32. So 826 divided by 32, 25, oh, and this asks us to round to the nearest tenth. So this would be approximately 25.8 points per game. Okay. All right, well, I I think that's it for this handout. I mentioned a few minutes ago that the next handout will have to do with converting units, and I talked about why we sometimes want to do that. So I will get ready. I will get that ready for you. And again, if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.